Hi, everyone, and welcome to the USC Viterbi School of Engineering Ask Me Anything session for fall 2024 admission, first year admission. My name is Paul Ledesma. I'm the Executive Director of Undergraduate Admission here for the Viterbi School of Engineering. And I have a panel of fantastic people here, the staff here in the Undergraduate Admission Office in the Viterbi School, to help answer your questions. Here's how today's session is going to work. We are operating live via Zoom. So if you're watching as a recording on YouTube, thanks for watching. Hopefully be able to get a good number of questions answered here. But for all of you that are live right now, you can go to that bottom question, that little Q&A button down there, which is the little chat bubbles there. Hit that Q&A button and go ahead and type a question. Keep typing in questions throughout today's session as much as you want. Ask as many questions as you like. Throw them into the bin. And then for our entire audience, if you don't have questions, or if you think a question's better than yours, then you can go ahead and upvote that question up. This whole session will run as a democratic process, meaning we're going to be answering the most popular questions first, and then we will make our way down. And so however you think of questions, type them in. We'll get to as many questions as we can. We'll be here for the whole hour. As we allow those questions to populate, I'd like to have my staff go ahead and introduce themselves. So we're going to start with Becky, then we'll go Angie, then we'll go Stacey, then we'll go Lisa.
Hey everyone, my name is Becky. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Admission. Welcome to our Ask Me Anything.
Hi everyone, my name is Angie. I'm the Associate Director of Viterbi Admission.
And hi everyone, happy to have you here today. My name is Stacey Badger and I'm the Senior Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admission, also in Viterbi.
Hi everyone, happy Tuesday. My name is Lisa Rosas and I'm the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admission for Viterbi.
So as I said, if you have questions, go ahead and throw them into that Q&A section at the bottom of your Zoom window, and we will make sure to get to as many of these questions as possible. And again, make sure you continue to upvote those questions. We will go into answering those questions in the order they are received. Before we get into the questions, just a reminder, it is currently October 24th, which means we are about a little over a week, maybe exactly a week away from the deadline to apply for first year admission. If you would like to apply for first year admission and you want to be considered for merit-based scholarships, you must submit your application via the early action process through the Common App by November 1st, and you need to make sure that you get your application in by November 1st. In order to be considered for the Viterbi School of Engineering, you need to make sure that you're listing one of the Viterbi School majors as your first choice major on the application. And all the Viterbi School majors are prepended with the letters VSE. So those are just some quick technical things to get out of the way because we have about a week to go. And so hopefully there's some good questions here, not only about our programs, but about the admission process as we help you get through this last week of getting your application ready for first year admission. So without further ado, the first question that has risen to the top very quickly is Rosalind 2. Rosalind, congratulations. You win all the big prizes today. We'll contact you later to let you know what that prize is going to be. I'm sure it is something incredibly shiny. Angie is going shopping for it as we speak right now to buy you something. But for your... You're not?
Nope.
I thought you were. Okay.
No.
Her question that's coming in right now is, for the second choice major, does it have to be something outside of VSC? It's a great question. I'll handle this first one. Please, anyone else jump in on this. As I noted, your first choice major must be a Viterbi School major in order to be considered for VSC. But your second choice major can be blank. It could be anything else at the institution. It just shouldn't be anything else inside of the Viterbi School. If you list something else in the Viterbi School, you've basically just taken that entire option away because you're already be considered for the Viterbi School. And so if you are thinking about something else outside of the Viterbi School that you want to do, that if you were not able to admit you to the engineering school and you're thinking, well, maybe I want to do this at USC instead, then go ahead and put that down as your second choice major. If you have no other interest, then go ahead and leave that blank because you still will be considered open for the institution for admission as a second choice. Anyone else want to add on to that?
Yeah, I think it's well, sorry. Yes, I'm going to. I think it's confusing just because every university does it a little bit differently. And so, like Paul said, if for some reason you apply first choice Viterbi, if for some reason we're not able to admit you to Viterbi, USC will consider you for your second choice, which is why we advise you to put it in something outside of the Viterbi School of Engineering. But everyone, even if you don't put a second choice, or if you do have a second choice that maybe you're not admitted to either, every student has a secret third choice major of undecided at the university. And so applying to one major at USC does not hurt your chances of being admitted to USC. And I think that's something that's unique to the University of Southern California that other schools don't do.
All right, great. Thank you. Our next question comes in from Milan Kumar. Milan, for the quick takes, should I give a justification or why I picked the movie, book, etc. that I did, or should I just put the title? Stacey, I have a feeling that you have a really good response for this to help people understand, first of all, what are the quick takes for people that may not know, and how should they go about putting these things down?
Of course, yeah. The quick takes in the application, you'll notice those usually after a bit of the writing sections that's in there. And those are the quick questions that are like, what's your favorite book? What's your favorite snack? All of those fun things. And they are supposed to be very quick for you to respond to. You can definitely put those in. We are judging all of your answers, and you will be admitted based solely on the quick takes. I don't know if you all knew that. And if they match your answers, basically if they match what we like, then you're admitted.
I
And
did
so
almost spit out my entire water when you said that.
that's how admission works. But no, in reality, that's really just another way to get to know you. And you don't have to put justification. If you really feel like you want to, you can, but it's not anything that's necessary on the application. We like to see, if your favorite snack is, Trader Joe's popcorn, great. You can leave it just as that. I don't need a reason for it. That sounds awesome. So you don't have to put that. And honestly, the quick takes are just a way to kind of break up the application, both for you writing the application and then both for us reading the application. So it's a way, again, get to know you, kind of breaks up the application, makes it a little fun. It's really not that serious. And we just kind of like to get to see you as the whole person that you are. And those questions kind of help with that.
I remember talking to a student, I think I might have said this before, where people were asking me like, so what do I put down for favorite snack? And I'm like, well, I don't know. What's your favorite snack? She said, raspberries. So put that down. She goes, well, should I put why? I'm like, because they're delicious. I don't know. Like, does it need explanation? I don't think it does. That said, if you feel like it does, maybe if it's something we're gonna find weird, maybe you want to put some explanation down, but no, you're not expected to do so. The next question is from Madav. Madav is asking, how are merit-based scholarships decided through EA? I will answer that question, but please, everybody else, please jump in. Just to clarify, merit-based scholarships are not decided through EA necessarily. I want to make sure that that's incredibly clear. The EA process is the first batch of applicants that come through that apply by November 1st, and students are then admitted. A small batch of students, probably about 20 to 25% of our overall admits, are admitted through the EA process. And then of that group, then we're going to select merit-based scholarship finalists. How are they decided? It's the exact same way that we run admission, right? So admission is a very complex and nuanced process where we're reading every single thing that you're providing to us and trying to find a good group of individual students to bring in to make sure that we're providing a really neat and interesting community of different people, of different backgrounds and resources. First, are you academically prepared? But second, what do you have to contribute? And that's what your application is telling us when you think about all that. The scholarship process doesn't necessarily mean that these students have better grades than other people. It's not like the people that have higher GPAs. There's nothing that qualifies you for scholarships that doesn't qualify you for admission. There's nothing that increases your chances of scholarship, but it is the group that we are most interested in getting into our campus. And so we want to bring in a scholarship finalist, and that just happens as part of that early action timeline. And the reason it's part of the early action timeline is because it takes us a while to get through this. And we need to go through this process over significant months of the review process. So you apply, some people have already applied. We've got nearly about, I think, 1,000 early action applications so far as of today. And we're going to be getting probably about another 7,000 to 8,000 again over the next week or so. And that means we got to go through those, we being us in the Office of Admission, and be able to bring in those students, review those students, then bring in a small group, and then review them again and find our finalists. And then from the finalists, we put them through another criteria to determine who's going to become the winners of the scholarship as we go through it. So it's a very, very detailed process that does take time. And that's why it is part of the early action process. Did I leave anything out? Okay, great. We're getting a lot of phone calls right now. If you guys are seeing this right now, it must be people trying to get into this that don't have problems. I'm not certain if we want to maybe put something on our social media if people are missing this on how to jump in, but we can't answer the phone if people are trying to call us because we're all right here. Unless one of us wants to jump off, but just something to think about. Let's get into this next thing. Caitlin is asking the next question. It says, for the NSE, got it. Okay, for the grand challenges essay, would it be best to propose a solution or just talk about why you care about the problem? Becky, do you want to handle this question first? Maybe give some context to these short answer questions, not essays, that we are putting on the application.
Yes. So one of the short answer questions talks about the 14 grand challenges, and students need to select one that they feel is most important and why. Why do you think it's, the most important grand challenge? Now, I will say they're all important or they wouldn't be in this list. So every single one's important. There's not a right one to choose or a right one to select, but just personally, which one do you think is the most important and why? If you can propose a solution to a grand challenge in 250 words or less, I recommend you contact the National Academy of Engineers and let them know your solution, because these are grand challenges that they are collectively, engineers around the world are trying to solve. So we don't expect a solution. If you have an idea and you can fit it in there, great. But again, there's not something very specific that we're looking for. We just want to know your opinion. What do you think is the most important, and why is that? And again, like Paul said, it is a short answer question. It is not a essay. And so it's just kind of get, for us to get your opinion and sort of understand, what you're interested in or what you think is important.
This might come up a few times throughout today's hour if I have my crystal ball right. I'm going to say this probably over and over and over again. Read the question. We didn't ask for a solution in the question. We asked you, go look up the 14 grand challenges, learn a little bit about them, and tell us which one is the most important to you and why. Note that none of that asks for a proposal or a solution. It's just, why is it the most important to you? And another question I'm going to guess is going to come up at some point. Does it have to relate to, I can't find one that relates to my major. No, we didn't ask that question either. We didn't say connect it to your major. We didn't say connect it to things you've done. We just want to get your take on why that is an interesting and important element to you, because they're all important. Not one of them is the right answer or the wrong answer. And it is something that's going to take collectively a lot of time to get through as a solution. When these are solved, then we don't need to put them on the application anymore. So yeah, this is just something that's important to us to get your take on, see how you're thinking about it. Okay. So don't overthink it.
Just to add real quick, we do have a blog post on this that I have
This is
created.
the next question, Lisa. Oh my God. Yeah, go for it. Well, actually, let me look. So what you're gonna say is the answer to this next question from Anthony, which says, do you have any advice for the 2 USC Viterbi supplements? So there are 2. You want to talk? We talked about one, which is the National Grand Challenges. Lisa, do you want to talk about what the other one is, and then also talk about the blog post and how to address these?
Yes. So then the other question is your unique contributions to USC Viterbi. So when we talk about this in like the blog post, and I'm going to drop the link right now, basically it's going to sum up, what do you bring? What do you bring to Viterbi? How are you going to succeed here and all those things? And don't overthink it. It's only 250 words. That's going to be the biggest thing. But really, we're just trying to get to know you, your background, traits, skills, all those things, and help us to better understand you through these 2 short answer questions. But let me go ahead and drop that link.
And I think to kind of reiterate what Paul already said, answer the question. If there's information that you really want us to know about you that doesn't fit into the answer of either the essay or one of the short answer questions, you can send us that information separately, through your USC admission counselor as additional information, but don't try and squeeze it into the answer of a question when it doesn't answer the question. Because then, we are, reading your answer saying, this isn't giving us what we asked for. This isn't answering the question that we asked.
Yeah, it is a common frustration that I know when I read applications, when we go through something and we read something, we're like, I don't even know what I just read. And I have to go back and read the question, like, what were we asking again? And it sometimes it makes us think that maybe you just copied and pasted this from another application because you didn't care. And that doesn't make us feel very good. That doesn't make us think that you took this process seriously. So just keep in mind, like, we are human beings that have asked you questions. You are human beings that are answering those questions. And we're just trying to get to know you. That's the whole purpose of the application. We try to get to know you with these kind of various inputs with kind of different looks and takes across different ideas. We don't expect you as 17-year-olds to have the world figured out. You're not supposed to have every single thing figured out, but we do want to understand your take. We want to understand your perspective. We want to understand how your thought process works. And we want to just have you explain to us a little bit more about yourself from these different perspectives. And that's as maybe silly and lighthearted as what's the next thing you're going to binge, to which of these large world problems are the most important to you. And I know that's somewhat of an emotional whiplash to go through in the application, but I think in some sense, it does wrap around the complexities of all the things that you're dealing with as a kind of a growing person in the world today, and we're trying to understand who we want to fill our hallways with. So we want to get some understandings of that. There are no right or wrong answers. We just want to see how you're communicating and how you're thinking. Thank you for that. Angie, this next one I'm going to have you take the first crack at. Meenakshi is asking, what is the evaluation criteria for the application process stack ranked? For example, is academic rigor most important? Angie, please explain to them the mathematical formula by which we derive all admission decisions by, with the proper weighting, everything that you put into that.
Yes, I believe it's x equals negative b plus or minus square root, or something like that. No. So first, everything Paul just talked about this not too long ago. Someone asked about merit scholarship criteria. It's the exact same criteria that we're looking for in the admission process. And there's no ranking to any of this. Of course, your academics are important. How well you're doing in classes, rigor, are you challenging yourself? Activities, involvement, volunteer work, your essays, your short answers, your letters of recommendation, everything is important in the evaluation process. We don't have a form that's like, number one, academics, and it's more weighted than everything else. Number two, this and this. So this is very much a holistic or comprehensive process, however you want to call it. Some schools use one or the other, but we're evaluating everything. A student with a 4.0 GPA may not get in because it's not just about the GPA. It's not just about test scores, which are optional, by the way. We're looking at a number of different factors and criteria, and we're evaluating a student's potential to succeed, not just in the classroom, but outside of the classroom. What are they going to contribute to this community? Are they going to rise in leadership? We're trying to predict and basically see, will you be able to succeed in Viterbi and contribute positively to our community? So that's kind of that answer. It's not answering the question because there is no answer to that specific question.
Yeah, there's no math involved. I was making that joke ahead of this because the question implies that there is math with weighting and ranking, and again, human beings reading what you as human beings have written with a first core understanding that you're prepared for the curriculum. That understanding is based on, are you taking rigorous courses in high school currently? Are you getting A's and B's, more A's than B's? Then you're prepared. That's what we're looking for. We want to see preparation in calculus as well. We want to make sure that you've at least done a year of calculus, and calculus in progress in your senior year is fine. And we want to see success in that calculus class. That's the preparation that we're looking for. Beyond that, it's just who is going to be a good fit for this institution, and people fit in different ways, and they need to fit with other people. So there's lots of different ways in which fit can be defined. Michael has the next question. As a reminder, everybody, you got to go in and keep upvoting. I know you did that in the beginning, and I appreciate that, but I'm recognizing that the votes are kind of diminishing as we get further down this stack of questions. So please get in there and keep upvoting if you want to get questions to the top. I really appreciate you doing that, and continue to add questions. Dig down in the bottom, find the good ones, bring them up. Let's see what we got. Michael McKinney is asking, what is the most valuable on-campus resource that most engineering students take advantage of? Is there a Viterbi best kept secret, underused resource that you would recommend more engineering students make use of? Stacey?
Very interesting. So I was thinking about this as I read that question. I was like, but I really feel like it's going to depend on what you value. And I know that sounds sort of generic, but it says the most valuable on-campus resource. That's going to depend on what you want to do, because maybe something that's really valuable to you, maybe you want to work with children, and there's a lot of different ways on campus and in Viterbi that you can go into high schools, that you can go into elementary schools or middle schools, and you can go and be part of these different tutoring programs. Maybe something that's really valuable to you is getting to study abroad and get to go travel and go do different things. So you want to take advantage of the Viterbi options and go abroad and go do your writing 340 class while you're also in Berlin, and take courses and where you get to go to Greece or do different things where you get to basically have those other experiences. Maybe you want to do research, so you sign up for Curve, our Center for Undergraduate Research Experience, and you sign up for that and you get matched with a professor and you get to do research as an undergraduate student. So it's going to kind of depend on what it is that you want to do and what you consider to be valuable. Maybe to you, it's valuable to also just talk to your professors and go to office hours and hang out and go on hikes and for peaks and professors and all these different things that you can do. So there's different ways that you can kind of make that work for you. I don't know if there's a best kept secret, nothing that I can think of. I find that students always know way more than I do, and they always know everything. So it's really, I would say, like, as long as you're involved with things and you're getting to know other students, different student organizations, different things, different faculty members, you're going to know way more ins and outs than we ever will, because you're in it and you're living it. But definitely I would say that the best way to kind of find what's valuable to you is, of course, participating in things and meeting other engineering students, and hearing from students and getting to be part of that experience in itself. So whatever you value, there will be experiences related to that as well.
I was laughing about some secrets I thought I might want to tell, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
no, those aren't
Sure,
appropriate.
tell your secrets. We all want to hear them.
All I keep thinking about is like where the bathrooms aren't crowded.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Exactly. What are your values? Exactly. That's something that's valuable to you.
Or I think about this very specific bathroom in the student union. It has a great, for the men's room, because it's got a great view of Truesdale. You can just look out over Truesdale the whole time and no one knows that you're peeing, which I think is the biggest secrets ever.
Very cool. I do like the ones actually in the cinema school, because those are usually very quiet for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, those are what I think about these days. Yeah, it's just, this is important stuff, right? Okay. I think undervalued resource is actually a question that was rising to the top. It got knocked down, so I'm going to answer it now, is actually study abroad. And I think the reason it's undervalued, it's not a secret, people know about it, but I do think that you all as prospective engineers tend to come in with a sense of like study abroad as a bonus. And I want you to think of it as something you really want to get into your, like something that's important to you, even if you don't think it is, because study abroad opportunities are important to us as a school. Connor asked us questions about whether we have Viterbi specific study abroad programs, and we do. But what's most important is that engineering and computer science students can study abroad at any of the programs university wide, and we have engineering specific programs. So that means you have more opportunities to study abroad here than probably any other engineering school you're looking at, because we think it's a value. We think it's a value because that's where you learn a lot, you grow a lot, and it has your opportunity to not only expand your engineering education to that international element. And we have programs that are built into our curriculum where you can extend a class into the May semester, or sometimes you can start a class in August while traveling, then extend it over into into the fall semester. We have study abroad opportunities during breaks. We have study abroad opportunities during the summer. We have exchange programs during the semesters. There are lots of opportunities. And so if you're not thinking about study abroad, I would encourage you to think about it, because I think it's a really important element to throw into your program. And some people think like, oh, I'll do it when I can. And I really think you should make it a priority. That's just a personal thing. So thank you for that question, Connor. Isaiah is asking a question that honestly, you all, I don't really understand this. So help me understand what he's asking. Are there any common mistakes or misconceptions that applicants should be aware of when applying to Viterbi?
I mean, I'm reading this question as all those questions we always get, like, what are you looking for? What advice you should give? How should I answer the question? Those sort of misconceptions that like, there's something very specific we're looking for in the essay, or there's something very specific we want you to write about. And I mean, I'm guessing that because that's the misconception question.
Putting raspberries down as your favorite snack.
Yeah. Why, should I explain my reasoning for this delicious fruit that I like to eat?
Hot Cheeto.
But I think we get that a lot, and we kind of always have to explain, like, we are people reading your application, and you might get me reading your application, or you might get Paul, or you might get Angie, or you might get Stacey, or you might get Lisa. And so you can't write thinking like, oh, I bet this is what Paul wants to read on an application, and totally just, so we all know you all want him to read it, but you might not get him. It's highly likely one of the other four of us. One of the other four of us is going to read your essay. And so you can't really like, perfect your essay towards who you think is going to read your application, because it might not be. And every application is read by so many people, because your admission counselor in the USC admission office is going to read your essay and your short answer questions. And then if you apply to Viterbi, someone in our office is going to have input on your application as well. And so there's multiple people reading your application. And so this idea that you should answer based on what you think we want to read or what we want to see. I mean, what's your dream job? I've seen, a USC admission counselor, like, then don't be an engineer. That's really not a good plan for you. You can, go anywhere and major in anything. You don't have to do the engineering route. So I think that's a huge misconception, and students really just need to write what they're feeling, who they are. Tell us about yourself.
Any other thoughts on that? People want to jump in on?
I'll just add quickly, the more you try to strategize and like finesse the application, the more likely that it's not going to come across as like authentically you, which is actually more interesting to us. And so don't overthink it. The more you are, the better the application is. So that's my last 2 cents.
I agree. Strategy is a bad way. So anytime you're overthinking it, anytime you're wondering any of these things, like if it's just not your answer, it's going to get really, really bad really quickly. There's no other way to say that. It just doesn't read well. Becky?
And yeah, I'm sorry, you can tell I want to say mistakes. There's 2 very specific things, I think, in essays and short answer questions that students need to be aware of. Not that you can't do it, but just be aware of how it plays off to someone you've never met. And that's being super creative or trying to be funny. Because sometimes it just doesn't come off right in a 250-word typed short answer question to someone you've never met before who doesn't know your sense of humor. So sometimes it works, but a lot of times it doesn't. So just be aware of that.
Really rare for someone to pull off funny, and it's really rare for someone to pull off creative. And I think another thing built into the same idea is myths, legends, and lore about college admission is someone tells you got to stand out. And so if you're trying to stand out, I bet you will, but I will tell you, all of us will tell you, the people that stand out never stand out positively. Standing out, the things that I remember in applications are people that were very quickly just moved aside because it was weird. It was odd. I didn't know what to do with it. So human beings writing answers to questions that other human beings wrote, thinking of it as like a conversation, but it needs to be well written. That's the best way to put it. So Isaiah, thank you for the question. And Becky, thank you for helping me kind of really understand that. Lisa, welcome back. I know you're dealing with helping people on the side, so I hope that everybody got helped out. So that's where she's been popping in and out because she's been trying to deal with people on the side. So thank you. Let's go into our next question, which is also a common misconception. And I'm going to let Angie take the lead on this question. Kylie is asking, I saw that USC allows the option to send in additional letters of rec, but there isn't a spot to do it on the Common App. How do we send in additional letters of rec? First question, do we want the additional letters of rec?
We do not want the additional letters of recommendation.
Common misconceptions.
And I do know, I know the website says one thing, and we've spoken to our colleagues. They're trying to update that information. We are not encouraging additional letters of recommendation beyond the one that typically is required and is being sent through with the counselor report or the school report, whatever that is. We are finding that beyond that one letter of recommendation, they all say the same thing. You're amazing. So we are not encouraging students to submit additional letters of recommendation. And I mean, that's pretty much it. So
yeah, and the reason it's open and why it may sound fuzzy, even as we're talking about it or on the website, is maybe there's something that you know about yourself, or there's a story that someone needs to tell us about you that can't be put into the application and needs to come from an outside source. So we allow the opportunity to be, lack of a better term, surprised in this process. We know that we can't control everything that comes in. So if you would like to submit those, you can. But we're telling you right now, we don't want them. And that's why this goes back to that previous question of a common misconception. Some people think that you're supposed to find that one friend of your mom who's an alum to write you a letter of recommendation because we're looking for that rah Trojan spirit to tell us you're one of us. No, we're not. I also know they don't know you very well. And I also know that probably the teacher counselor knows you a lot better. And the things that are happening in your application are much more telling of who you are as a person. Second, some people think you're supposed to go get math and science teachers to write you letters of recommendation. I'm here to tell you, math and science teachers write the worst letters of recommendation. over and over and over again. It's not their skill set. And all they tend to do is tell us that you went to their class and you got a good grade, which we already know from your transcript. So don't put them through that extra work. Don't put yourself through that extra stress. And more importantly, this is another thing that comes up this week. I don't think I can get my application in for early action because I'm waiting on letters of recommendation. That is the worst thing ever, because if you just heard what we said, we weren't looking for them to begin with. So get your application in. Don't worry about the letters of rec. Teacher council reports can come in later as well. Hopefully not too much later, but we want to get your Common App submitted by November 1st to be in early action to be considered for that process. Don't think that everything has to be there at once. Your file is not a locked off file. Things get added in over time. And if things in your life change, you want to update us, you can do that through your applicant portal after you submit your application. So I hope that that's also dispelling some misconceptions that are not necessarily being asked about, but hopefully that helps Kylie as well with letters of rec. They don't really tell us a lot. And also your aunt, I know she loves you. I know she thinks you're great. We don't need to have that in the app. Max G, Becky, is there an interview process after the initial application?
So no, not really.
No, not at all. I'm going to just say no, not at all. No,
No,
I know
not
what
at
you're going
all.
to get to, but you can specify how you're going to get to that. But no, there is no interview process. Don't be fuzzy on that answer.
Okay. There is no interview process for admission. That is solid. We get 15,000 applications every year. We do not have there are not enough hours in the day to interview 15,000 students over the course of 3 months. So no, there is no interview process for admission. Now, why I was being fuzzy is because for those students who are scholarship finalists for the large university trustee, presidential, dean's scholarships, there is an interview process for them that goes along with the scholarship selection. So a handful of students will be required to interview for their scholarship, but as far as an interview for admission, no.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. Alyssa asked a question that I'm about Grand Challenges question that I'm pretty sure we already answered, so I'm going to skip it. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So please, you all go over there and upvote, get those questions to the top that you want answered. If you see something already answered, push other things up to the top. That will help us get through this quickly. Vasu is asking, I was wondering how USC looks at dual enrollment compared to a normal high school career. Specifically, what are the differences between dual enrollment and high school for USC? Vasu, thank you for your question. I'll take a quick stab at this, and then anyone else please jump in and correct me or add any complications onto this. One, I think what's most important for all of you is that the thing that I said earlier about are you engaged in the highest level of rigor available to you at your school is what's most important to consider here. And so if your school has a track of you do regular classes, then you do honors classes, then you do AP classes, that's kind of accelerated rigor. AP would be the highest level of rigor. Hopefully by the time you've gotten through high school, you've been engaging in high level of rigor as you go through that process. Other schools supplement their AP curriculum or their honors curriculum with dual enrollment at community colleges or local universities. Other schools have International Baccalaureate, the IB program, and other schools do other things entirely different. And the point is that all of you come from different schools with different backgrounds and different levels of rigor. And none of those are better or worse than anything else. I want to be crystal clear about this. Because you go to a school that has dual enrollment, it doesn't make you better. Because you go to a school with IB, it doesn't make you better, and AP, etc. It's, are you engaged in the highest level of rigor available to you at your school? If there's AP and dual enrollment at your program, it's kind of a case by case on which one might be better for you, to be quite honest with you. But I will say that dual enrollment we will recognize as a high level of rigor if that is the high level of rigor at your school, but we're not looking for it, nor do we want you to do it necessarily. And the reason I say that is that oftentimes high school students like yourselves are being sold a program that says this is getting your college done earlier. And that is true at the college that it was set up with, and not USC or probably any other university you're applying to. And so we oftentimes have a lot of students that get a little upset thinking that they were going to be done with most of their college classes because they were dual enrollment. And that just is not the case. There are a few small exceptions that don't even need to be brought up here because it's not necessarily the case that that's regular. But the more often than not, your dual enrollment is just recognized as rigor. We can understand that, but it's not necessarily going to replace curriculum that's waiting for you here at USC. Did I handle that? Did I leave any holes?
That was good.
Thanks, Angie.
Mhm.
I look for Angie's approval on all of these questions actually every time. Next question, Madav is asking, which GPA is preferred, weighted or non-weighted? And also, is not having a SAT going to hurt me? Angie, give that one a shot.
Sure. I'm not sure what you mean by preferred. I think maybe on the application it's asking you for you to input something. We don't care what you input. Now, I mean this to say you should put it as accurately as possible, but our colleagues in admission will recalculate your GPA. And we're going to recalculate everyone's GPA because every school does grading differently. Weighted GPA goes up to 5.0, 6.0 at some schools. Some schools don't even use letter grading. So we are going to recalculate your GPA. And quite frankly, I think the one that matters most is non-weighted because that's how we recalculate the GPA as a non-weighted GPA. And then, of course, we'll consider all the factors of rigor, like Paul mentioned, dual enrollment, AP, IB, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Now, the second part of this question, is not having SAT going to hurt me? No. I think I earlier saw someone say, should I include an explanation as to why I'm not sending the SAT? Also, no. We don't care. It's test optional. It's not a different rule for engineering applicants. If you're not sending your SAT, you're not sending your SAT, and that's it. We're not going to inquire why or why not. You chose to send it or not. So
yeah, I'll go one step further. I literally don't care about your SAT score. It doesn't tell me personally anything more about your academic preparation, specifically when I'm far more targeted on higher level rigorous math courses at your high school, specifically calculus and beyond. An SAT math exam with a score of 800 means that you took a test that had 2 algebra 2 questions on it, no pre-calculus questions on it, no calculus questions on it, and the majority of it was geometry and a little bit of algebra 1. That doesn't tell me anything about your preparation for our program. So if you got a great score and it makes you feel good, hey, go ahead and submit it if it makes you feel good. We are not necessarily caring or looking at that when we have rigorous courses over 4 years that can give us some dependable information for your preparation for the engineering program. Thanks for that. Stacey, I'm going to have you take your first crack at this question, and then anyone else might want to jump in because it is a broad question. It says, what sets USC Viterbi Engineering apart, and how might a student express more interest in what it has to offer? There are 2 parts of this question, and I want to make sure we are separating the parts of this question and talking about them specifically. So Stacey, I'm going to have you talk about the first part of this question, and then Becky, I want you to deal with part 2, and I think you both know what I'm referring to.
Yes. All right. So what sets USC Viterbi apart?
Other than us, obviously, in this amazing event that we put together.
Right. Other than the coolest admission staff in all of USC, or Los Angeles, or the world.
I would say west of the Rockies.
But I think a lot of that too kind of goes back to what I mentioned before, or the question that came up kind of about values and what your value, what things that you value about a school as well, what you value. So there could be different pieces again in there that kind of have more interesting components to you. But in my opinion, the things that I've always found about Viterbi that I've really appreciated, and especially working here and seeing different students, is that we talk about a lot of times getting to know faculty, getting to know professors. Class sizes here are a lot smaller compared to a lot of other universities. So you get to have that interaction with your professors, with your classmates. You have access to do research as an undergraduate student. So you have kind of these small school resources where you can also, like I said, get to know all of these people around you. So it kind of has that smaller school resources there, but then also with, again, the resources of a much larger university like USC. So you can go to football games if that's something that's interesting to you. You can go take a dance class. You can go take a business class. You can literally start your own business. I've known plenty of undergraduate students who have made their own startups and work full time basically as undergraduate students. And so you have, again, these resources, these very personalized pieces to you, while also having the resources of the larger institution at hand as well. Again, being able to talk to your professor in office hours, maybe you're civil engineering and you're one of 9 people in your class, but you also went to study abroad in London for a whole semester, and you did other things there because you have, again, the resources of that entire university on top of the wonderful resources in Viterbi as well. So that's sort of, in my opinion, again, what has set us apart, what makes us interesting. But again, other students might be looking at different pieces. But to me, that's always something that I've really been proud of at the university.
And the reason I'm having this question divided, Valentina, is because I do recognize what's happening a lot these days is that all of you are trying to do your best possible job at applying to schools. And I think that it's been kind of beaten into you from counselors and parents. And some people think that the best quote unquote strategy, there's that word again, is to find out what the school thinks is special about them and then figure out how you can tell them they're so great at what they do. And that's what you're interested in. And then this idea of quote, demonstrated interest pops into the conversation. So I want Becky to kind of start laying into that related to your question, and then I'll pick it up on the back end with something else.
I was gonna say, you just took everything I had to say.
Oh,
No,
I'm
when
sorry.
that's
I was trying to prime you.
When I first read this question, I was like, oh, what sets USC apart? And then when I read the second half, I was like, ooh, she's just gonna repeat whatever Stacey says and put it in her, number 2 short answer question. And so I think that's something to just, again, be aware of it. Don't write what you think we want to hear, or don't try to answer questions based on what we think. We want to know what you think. Why are you're here today? You're listening to us talk about it. You're considering applying to USC. Why? There's 600 colleges and universities in the United States. That doesn't even count schools outside of the US that a lot of students apply to. Like, why do you want to come to USC? There has to be a reason why we were on your short list to begin with. But just talking about sort of demonstrating interest in the application. USC does not use demonstrated interest when reviewing applications and making admission decisions. If you apply, we think you're interested. So you don't need to let us know how great you think we are and how we're your number 1 choice. And you don't need to lay it on too thick. That's what I'm saying. We know we're great. We work here. We love it. And we're a good school. We are going to be a good fit for some of you. We're not going to be a good fit for everyone. And so I think the idea of showing demonstrated interest in your application or writing about USC in the way that we feel about it is not going to be helpful to your application, because it doesn't tell us about you. It tells us what you think we think. And that's not us getting to know a student. So I think you should be really careful about that. Everything Stacey said, I agree with. It's the same reasons why I think USC and Viterbi is such a great place. But we want to know more. Why do you think it is? What brought you to, look at USC and consider applying to USC?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, Valentina, maybe that isn't exactly what you're asking, and you just want to be able to be super excited about these things. And ultimately, I want you all to tell us what's exciting to you if it is exciting to you, and don't think that we are looking for things on the application. I'm not trying to. I do not want us to replace strategy with another strategy. What I really want you all to do is think about how so much of what you came to today's session with, or so much what you come to the application with, is some sort of baggage that someone put on you, whether that was the teacher or a counselor or one of your friends saying, oh, you better do this, or you better do that, or you better do this with that application because that's what they like and that's what they like. And oftentimes that might be true in a number of institutions. But for us in particular, we're just trying to get your most authentic self in the application. And I know that the word authentic self is a rather intimidating word for a 17-year-old filling out paperwork. But think of it more as, this is a question. What is my response to that question? Get out an answer, move on to the next one. Then go back and edit, right? So writing well, communicating well is about the iterative process in getting your core gut answer to a more polished or refined answer, not creating strategy from the top down. And I will also add to this, because this has not come up, I don't think it's going to come up, but using something like ChatGPT is an automated process that only builds in all of those implicit biases that we just talked about strategy into that formal writing process. And I could tell you, all of you as an audience of however many thousands of people writing us emails, I can already tell the emails that are written by ChatGPT, which means it's going to be real easy to see what these applications look like written by ChatGPT are. it is fairly transparent. So go in, tell us what you're thinking, and then refine it. That's what good writing is. It's not about writing to get an A, if that makes any sense. So hopefully that helps you. Okay, Apurva is asking, how long do you spend on each application? Lisa, I'm going to let you take your first swing at this one. Lisa has been with us for a year now. She went through her first year of reading applications last year, and I know that this process evolved over time. So how long do you spend on each application?
When I first started, maybe like 2 hours. Forever. I would go through everything and try and memorize it all, and it was such a process.
You were treating it like studying.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. I was like, I need to know everything in case I get quizzed about it later. But now I would say it's closer to like 30 to 45 minutes. Hopefully that's not too far off from how much time you guys spend on yours, but I still spend I'm seeing faces. I'm curious, what are your guys' times on applications?
I think it depends. Well, one, am I like in the zone? Because if I'm in the zone and I'm just like sitting on my computer going through them, or do I have like outside distractions from work? But it depends on the application. It can take anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes to a much longer time, especially if we have questions. So let's say I'm reading an application and I'm unsure about something, and I bump it up to Paul, and then maybe I talk to the territory manager, your admission counselor over in the main admission office. So some applications do take a much more group effort, longer conversation, because like we've kind of been repeating, these are humans reading applications from humans. And so we really want to get to know the students. And if there's anything that seems out of the ordinary, or something I'm not understanding, or I'm not sure, like maybe I'm missing something, is there something I'm not seeing here because this doesn't make sense, we will have conversations about them. But sometimes, yeah, it can take a lot less. It also depends on how we're reading, because some of these applications we read multiple times.
Yeah.
Right. We're reading applications to select finalists for or applicants for EA, and then finalists for scholarship, and then reading the application again of the students that we interviewed for scholarships. And so as you read them multiple times, it can go faster.
Any other thoughts? I'll only add that we're not the only ones that read the application. The Office of Admission has dozens and dozens of people that will be reading applications, and we get into as many as we possibly can. And we're also going to be helping them on how they go through the engineering applications and provide that feedback as much as possible. And in some situations, an application might be sent to us saying, hey, what do you think about X, Y, and Z in this particular application? In other words, like, here's the question I have about this, and vice versa. We might shoot a question back to them. It's not a straight flow chart of processes. It doesn't go from one office to the next and it's filtered. It is somewhat of a live melee of people going back and forth in an electronic process. So it involves the best possible people doing as much as we possibly can to read and understand people. Allie's asking a question about Grand Challenges essay, which we've already answered, and so we're not going to answer that question. But Lisa, would you mind putting the link to that blog again into the chat in case people have joined late? That'll give you some helpful information. We've already talked about Wrong is asking a question about, other than official transcripts, SAT, ACT scores, which we said are optional. So Wrong, you might want to look into that. It is optional. We are asking for that. Do we need to submit official AP scores? If you've taken AP exams, we would prefer that you submit AP exams. If you have taken AP courses and not taken the exam, it is in your best interest to tell us why you did not take the AP exam. I understand that a lot of people, maybe it wasn't available to you. Maybe it was a financial constraint for your family. Please let us know why. I always do run into questions when I see AP classes taken with no scores reported to us. And that is somewhat of a interesting note on the application. Like, why didn't they tell us? I'm assuming if you got a good score, you'd tell us. So please let us know, or maybe you didn't take it. So I do want to know that information. So that's important to us. And they don't need to be official. They can be self-reported inside of the application. If you have it, cool, you can send us a copy, but you don't need to pay to send them at this point.
And if you are admitted and you want credit for the class, you do need to submit scores.
Yeah. Catherine's asking about, more people apply for computer science, computer engineering, computer science? It changes from year to year. More often than not, more applicants come in for computer science, but we also admit more people for computer science than computer engineering, computer science. So if the implication of this is which one do I have a better chance of admission, there are no impacted programs. We adjust the seats in admission every single year based on interest. So put down the thing that's most interesting to you. I know we get lots of questions about computer science, computer engineering, electrical computer engineering. This is a spectrum, software to hardware. Software is a computer science degree, electrical computer engineering is a hardware degree, and the one in the middle is computer engineering, computer science, which is a 50-50 hardware software degree. Pick the thing that sounds right to you. And students, if you don't like it, you can always change afterwards. So it's not that big of a deal. Hector G from Mount Sac UB is asking, when we submit our application for November 1st, do we have to turn them in on October 31st at 11:59 p.m. or at November 1st at 11:59 p.m.? So first off, neither of these things, you can submit at any time of day, buddy. You don't need to go in at 11:59. That seems like you're cutting it a little crazy, but I know the question here. Angie, do you want to help clarify them for this?
Yeah, so the early action deadline for first year applicants is November 1st at 11:59 p.m. in your time zone. Again, you can submit it right now if you're finished. You don't have to wait until November 1st at 11:59 p.m., but that is the deadline in your time zone. Another thing that happens is you submit it, especially for us in the West Coast, it's going to say that you submitted it late because Common App is run on East Coast time. Don't worry about that. As long as you submitted it in your time zone at 11:59 p.m.
It won't say
on
it's
November
late.
1st.
It'll just have a timestamp of
Yeah.
3 hours,
Yeah.
right? So it won't say late, but we get a lot of freaked out emails.
I did want to comment because the name of that student said
Exactly. I know where you're going.
on it. If there are any transfer students watching this right now, number one, this webinar is not the most relevant for you. We typically have a webinar for transfer students later in February. But if any of you are transfer students, meaning you've already graduated high school and you are attending another college or university, basically regularly or full-time, your deadline is not until February 15th. You have months, and there's no early action for you as a transfer applicant. So if you are currently at Mount Sac Community College or any other community college or university and you want to apply to USC as a transfer student, don't rush to submit because your deadline is not until February 15th.
Thank you, Angie. Read my mind and where you wanted to go with that one. I appreciate that. Minakshi is asking, what are the exact, oh, wait, before we get this, we got 5 minutes left, folks. 5 minutes left. You better get in there and upvote. If you want a question answered in the next 5 minutes, you want to push that all the way to the top because we only got a few more minutes left to answer these questions. So please get in there as quickly as possible. But Minakshi is asking, when are the exact timelines when students will know admission decisions? There's no such thing as an exact timeline. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. If you want one, I have none. We do put it on our website that says that you'll be notified in late January. After, if you've applied to EA, you'll be notified in that timeline. And then if everyone will be notified of their final decision, regardless of when they applied by the end of March. We cannot take any hands raised at this time. So we're lowering all possible hands. We're just going to our Q&A session, okay? But that is noted on our website, but there is not an exact time. When we get closer and we feel confident in this, we're not taking hands, folks. Stop raising your hands. You see, you're wasting time. I got to address the hands, and now we're not going to get to the questions. So let's not raise our hands. There we go. We'll just take note of who did, and we'll just deduct 10 points from their application. So Andy, we'll go ahead and take 10 points off your application for doing that 3 times. No, I think it's 10 points per, so that's 30 points at this point, right? So Lisa, note down Andy and his hand raising 3 times.
Just Andy. No last
Just
name.
Andy, because he keeps doing it.
Andy said it was a mistake.
Sure, it was. I'm sure he just did it again 3 more times. Killing time, folks. Not my time, it's your time. Vanessa, when do you declare your engineering major? Becky, let's go ahead and handle that.
Whenever you know it. No, on the application, you apply first choice major engineering. You can select a specific engineering discipline, or we do have undeclared engineering. Now, if anyone applies undeclared engineering, just know you cannot graduate as an undeclared engineer. So at some point you will need to declare a specific discipline in engineering that you want to study. But we recommend, I guess there's not a specific date or semester that you have to declare and then stick with your major. We recommend about halfway through your sophomore year, just to ensure that you graduate in 4 years. Obviously, if you change your major in your junior or senior year, that may extend your graduation date. I know students who have done it and they have graduated on time, but that's just something to think about. If Viterbi is a little bit unique in that students have flexibility. So if you are admitted to computer science and then decide you want to be an electrical engineer, you can change your major. It's very simple. You let your advisor know and you change your major. So you do have the option to kind of explore and change your major, but there's not a specific timeline to declare. We just say about halfway through your sophomore year, just to ensure that you graduate in that 4-year time span.
Jerome is asking, are there any examples of trying to stand out too much in an essay?
No, I don't give my examples. Come on, I don't.
Paul, do you remember a couple years ago we had a student admit that he hacked his high school's website?
Yep.
That don't admit to crimes, people, please. He was trying to sound very like cocky, I got away with it type of thing.
They don't even know.
Yeah, they don't even know. And we're like, we don't even think we want to admit a kind of student who is doing illegal, non-ethical things. So yes, there is such a thing as trying too hard to stand out.
Didn't we send that back to the school?
Yeah, I think we did.
We did not admit. We sent back to the school. He got in trouble at his school, if I remember correctly, and of his own hand. Yeah, that was a bad one. I don't really have any. Stacey, got any good ones?
I think sometimes students have tried to be really creative and have tried to put like word puzzles into their essays. And when I'm trying to read a lot of applications, taking the time to try to solve this word puzzle is actually not really fun. That and like poems and stuff where I'm like, remember, we want you to answer the question. And a lot of those other pieces are extra work for us that again, make us remember not enjoying the application, reading in that process.
I think I've said this every year, and I get this still every year. A kid that starts the application essay with thwack. There goes my football career. That's not trying to stand out, but it's an overused template. I kind of know exactly what's going to happen. So yeah, I get you got hurt, but let's move on. Okay, everybody take note of what we say here and see whether it goes into the application. After reading thousands of favorite snacks, what are your favorite snacks? Lisa, go.
Twix.
Becky.
Currently Aussie Bites, thanks to Angie shopping at Costco all the time.
Oh yeah, I got those. Well, the Koala Bites or Aussie?
They're called Aussie.
Are those the cookie over like a chocolate thing?
No, these are healthy. They're like oats and granola, and
I don't
know. They're really good.
Cool. Stacey?
I'm a Trader Joe's girl, like many, and lately I've been seeing that they have, it makes your breath really bad, but they taste really good. It's like the onion confit, like crackers, and they're really, really good. Again, you just brush your teeth afterwards, but like they taste really good.
Angie?
Simple hot Cheetos. I love artificial dyes. Yeah. They taste good.
Is there still a box of like hot chips in our office?
No, they're gone. I think I ate most of them.
I was looking for the I wanted some. I used to talk trash about hot Cheetos, and then I got into them and I really liked them over the pandemic. But I eat probably one of those think thin protein bars once or twice a day. I like it's my entire meal multiple times. So we'll see if these come up on the application. And if you put that on the application, then we know you listened to this or you watched this. And then we also know you didn't listen to the earlier part of this where you said we wanted you to be authentic and not play into this. So good luck. I think with that, we should wrap this up. Any final thoughts or final words everybody want to say to everybody before we close this out?
You got this.
Go get it.
Good luck.
Yeah. Good luck. We really hope that you submit that application for early action by November 1st in your time zone, 11:59 p.m. in your time zone on November 1st. Don't overthink it. There's no way to get a certain grade in this process. We're not looking for anything in particular. We want to get to know you. So help us get to know you as best as possible. Our website has a tremendous amount of resources that some links have been put into the chat. viterbiadmission.usc.edu. Our blog has lots of information related to all this information. We have a big open house this weekend where we talk all about this and bring more people out if you want to come join us on Sunday, October 29th, which is Discover USC, a campus-wide open house. And we have a number of different things happening for the Viterbi School and our Viterbi Expo, where we have faculty and current students coming out. If you're in the local area, we'd love to have you out just to kind of experience it. If you're not able to do that, we have other virtual events that go on pretty much every other week that are happening. A lot of different things are happening. Angie put in the link to our events page, viterbiadmission.usc.edu/events. And even after you apply, if you want to come to one of these things, we do on-campus stuff 2, 3, 4 times a week, every single day on campus. And we're always around and here to help. But just put your best self on that application. Don't minimize anything. Give us everything we possibly can. We really look forward to you applying. We're really appreciative of you taking the time to come visit with us. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your application season in your college search, and fight on. 2 points down from Becky. No, fighting on. Becky not fighting on. Come on, Becky. Oh, that's so weak. Okay. Bye, everybody.